So, today I'm just going to share my story on how I fired someone at the age of 19. So, if you haven't been following along, I'm currently a management trainee at 19. So, it was one of my most uncomfortable experiences in my life. So, if you're about to fire someone, I think this might help in setting expectations and how to handle your emotions, how to handle the stress. Because what I learned is most of the stress will come from your thinking, and the worst thing that could happen to you in your mind won't really kill you at all, won't affect you, it won't materialize into this world. When you first fire someone, of course, uh, you have a solid reason to fire them because of their performance, and at the end of the day, it's best for business. So for me, I fired that I made the decision because it would be best for business. And a lot of people recommend that the best time to fire someone is when you think about it. The first is when the thought comes up to your mind. So I made a move, made a quick decision, and our partners. So the employee was under our partner, was not under our. It was not our employee. So what happened was they took fast action. So that employee got laid off. So at this point, it was so. I mean, I was the trigger. I was the tipping point of getting this guy laid off. So what happened was he had a track record of poor performance, and I was the catalyst in getting this guy fired because I wrote a letter. So after he read the letter, he went and talked to me, confronted me. So we talked. Of course, it was not comfortable because the guy was mad. So at this point, I was I was observing myself, and I was impressed on how far emotional my EQ has improved because I was in control. I wasn't stressed out. I wasn't overthinking. I was present, and I didn't freak out. So if I didn't do self improvement before before I went to business, or before if I hadn't put myself in uncomfortable situations before I had this, I would have freaked out, and it would have gone a lot worse. So at this point, I listened, and I did my I did my best to talk to him because uh, I applied what I learned in handling customer complaints. If You get the person to talk to you. So here, what I was thinking was, if I get him to vent to me, talk to me, he won't he won't talk about it as much outside. So if so, I can relate to talking to customers. If you get your customers to talk to you, to email you about complaints, just complain to you, they won't spread the message that your company is poor, their service is poor. So that was the first thing I did. I did my best to talk to him as much as possible to let him vent. And my second reason for doing that, because expressing anger through there are only two ways to express anger. First is through words, and second is through actions. The more I can get him to express his anger through actions, I through words, the more he has no reason to take it through actions. So that's what I did. And the first confrontation, we talked, and so he walked out. I mean, the situation allowed it to have a conclusion to depart. And I saw that things haven't arrived at a conclusion yet. So imagine what most people would do. They would try to avoid the situation as much as possible. So what I did the hard thing. I went, walked, and talked to him. At this point, he expressed his anger more, and he was talking. He was not talking professionally, let's say. So, uh, you might think that it would end this day. It didn't. So the whole day, my energy was so low, and have some form of pity and no, not pity, um, maybe empathy to that guy. So even if you fired someone, you can still feel shit. So you feel negative, and the whole energy of the day was just draining, and you feel down sometimes, and your mind just goes everywhere, and you can't focus well. You're worried about your safety. So the stress doesn't stop. So what I did, in when I when my work was done, my work hour was done, I went for a walk. I walked all the way to my house from my work, and at this point, it's really best to just take walks, journal, journal, journal. So you need to manage your stress as much as possible, because this will be the most stressful state you'll be yet yet. So that happened, and the next day you're still worried about your safety when you're going home. I going to work, and you you and I found him waiting for me. I think he was waiting for me to talk, and so we talked. Still uncomfortable, and uh, so let me take you the night before this day. So seems like everyone there. It seems like his his coordinator, the coordinator is responsible for managing the people. It's like some form of a an HR person, and he called me and told me about the situation. He wanted to talk to my boss, and he wanted. So yeah, that happened. So I was being primed on what was going to happen the next day. So the next day, I met him. I talked to him. The best thing I ever did was the whole time I was just honest. Because if you're honest, people can sense if you're honest or not. And you don't need to remember your lies. That's what makes things good. Because if you can own up to your mistakes, I knew that I had a mistake there. I actually had a mistake, which I did not know before committing that mistake. So what happened was I was the I was like trapped in the situation because I was the one who sent the letter. But whatever happens to that guy is under the hands of the coordinator, whether he would fire him or replace him or exchange him or retrain him. It was under his hands. So uh, the blame was on me, and I took responsibility. Of course, you need to take extreme ownership of your life. So everyone was looking at me differently, and it's not nice to have different people sermon you, even though you've been sermoned. And these people, so what I did was I took them to the person who sermoned me first. It wasn't really a sermon, but they just told me this is the process here, and this is the process before we do this. So it happened, and at the end of the day, I did what was best for business. I fired fast. I didn't like it when uh, people that people interfere with your decisions, even though you think you at the moment that was the best decision to do, and right now, looking back, it was best for business. So suddenly there were people involved, there was an issue, and so you start overthinking and you start to think what would be the consequences. But I was prepared because I took responsibility for my actions, and whatever mistake I did, I, I would live up to it. And uh, at that day, day two was still negative and still feeling the low energy vibe. And at day three was the final day. that he was officially fired, and I and I realized that my decision was right. Be- what made this hard was the guy had a pregnant wife, so it was a hard decision, and I didn't know that his wife was pregnant, but I realized that the life you have is the life you chose, and if if we let this guy stay, the problem would carry until please don't remove me because I just have a newborn child. Please don't remove me because I have a kinder I a I'm raising a small child and this and that, and the business would be dragged along his problems. So I think the the circumstances that surround the person, whether he's having 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 trouble in his job, not showing up on time, uh, gambling, or not having enough money, it stems to the person. Whatever you do, he will whatever happens to him, he will always carry his problems wherever he goes. So a person poor with money, wherever he goes, will still be poor with money. So that's when I realized that wherever you go, the life you have is the life you chose. Everyone is self-made, but only the wealthy, only the winners will admit. So so this was my experience. It was extremely uncomfortable, and I'm glad I went through this. I'm glad I went through this experience at 19, and tough makes you a better person. I'm so glad that I faced the uncomfortable situations, and if I think be I might be vilified after this video. Business is business.